So what's the name of it again?
Dallas Diablos Radio.
Dallas Diablos Radio.
You guys seen that?
Welcome to another episode of Dallas Diablos Radio. We're still sheltering in place. I've got my mask on just in case
Yes.
I have to cough a little bit.
In
Sorry,
place.
it's allergies. Don't worry about it. So who's with us tonight? We got some
Coughing?
new faces. Yeah, I coughed. Go
Zoe
for it.
here.
Zoe.
The Gabe.
Hey, Ron. And Mario.
And Mario Ihu.
Oh, we have our special guest, Alvin, here.
Alan.
Hi.
So,
Podcast.
of course, everybody's, still no soccer. No soccer in the near future.
Still bummed. Nothing to turn on TV. Nothing.
Although
I tried.
MLS is showing throwback games every day on YouTube at 7. I think it's 7 p.m. I'm on there a lot chatting under the DDR name. So if you want to hop in and talk some stuff,
What else?
there's always some. It's on YouTube. There's always a bunch of Atlanta United people in there talking about how the league would be nothing without them. They're the worst. And we think we can all agree on that.
Do you guys hear that there's actual, like, the professional clubs? I think I watch a couple from Mexico, America, and some of the other clubs. They have some of their players participating in FIFA tournaments. Like, literally, like real tournaments. Like, they're broadcasting, like, in Univision and things like that.
They've been putting it on national TV on Fox. I think I don't have cable, so that's where we are right now. As you can see, my background is FIFA, even though I don't actually own it. But I watch the.
Oh, you mean the
replay
video game FIFA tournaments that they're broadcasting?
FIFA
Oh,
on
I
PlayStation.
was like, yeah, of course. FIFA tournaments. It's soccer, like. Of course, there would be FIFA tournaments. Never mind. Go ahead.
Players from each team. And then they play against each other, and it's literally a lot about the bragging right for the fans and things like that. Hey,
so it's athletes from the clubs.
Correct. Yes.
Oh, that's pretty cool. What channel?
I have watched a few on Univision, but I think there is other channels that are broadcasting.
ESPN does some stuff too. They had some guys from Europe that played each other recently too, and there's been other guys just playing online. Like you can find guys like West Ham did something with a guy from Tottenham recently, and that was kind of cool just for the fans when they would have been playing that game. So that was kind of neat too.
Yeah.
Is it easy to find players? Is their screen names pretty easy to find, or?
I don't know. You have to ask one of these PlayStation guys. I'm on a PC.
No, they have. Yeah, I don't know if they're broadcasting the PlayStation name. They're just showing the game on ESPN, and they actually have play-by-play with it. So it's on ESPN2 or the Ocho. And what they're doing is actually broadcasting the game, and they're actually play-by-play talking about, oh, this guy plays with this, just like how he really plays, et cetera. But I don't think they're actually putting their handle out there. But there are some guys that do it. By the way, Chad Ochocinco, formerly the Cincinnati Bengals, played for the Dolphins, played for the Patriots. He was on First Take this morning on ESPN, and he was talking about how he's the greatest FIFA player in the world as an NFL player, which is so. And he puts his name out there all the time to play, so you could actually play him. So Mario, you might need to play him since you're our resident best FIFA player. But he's terrible at Madden, by the way. I kicked his butt last night in Madden, then he kicked my butt. So.
Well, that makes sense though if you think about it for a second. Yeah.
What's funny is Rafi. He's not here unfortunately today, but he actually played with him like on the beach, I believe, in Florida. So.
Really?
So he
Mario or Chad Ochocinco? I'm losing track of what we're talking about.
Yeah, Ochocinco.
Oh, I didn't know that. Well, he'll have to bring it up when he's not out. He's trying to run down a scoop, ladies and gentlemen. That's why he's not here tonight. He's got some big news he's trying to find right now. So
the only rumor I've heard lately is that Beckham's trying to talk James into coming into Miami, and that's the only one going right now. Who knows? He's going to shoot for the sky, so that's why we all like Beckham.
That'll be big.
Speaking of English players, the big topic tonight is what Rooney said in the press either this week or last week. A little bit disparaging of MLS, but if you think about it, you can see his point. So I'm not too offended. What you got? Who's got the article they can pull up?
Yeah, I can talk about it. One of you guys want to share it as I'm kind of going through. But basically, Wayne Rooney, obviously one of the greatest players all time in the sport of football, soccer. And, he basically did, I don't know, whatever article he did or whatever interview he did, basically talking about how he's kind of complaining about the MLS, complaining about the way that they trade players, also like the amount that they're paid. Kind of gets into it, essentially didn't realize, I guess, once he got to this country, that a guy can get moved in a blink of an eye. Now, for us typical American sports consumers, we're used to that with Major League Baseball, with soccer, or with football, with NBA, et cetera, NHL.
All the sports, yeah.
And all the sports here local, that's just how it is. So we're accustomed to it, but I can imagine someone from coming across the pond not getting that. And the main quote, if you actually go down a little bit there, the Gabe, to the next one, where he says, "I know it works that way in basketball and NFL, but those players get paid millions and millions of pounds. So they look forward to have to do that where MLS players can't. They probably get a smaller percentage of money, which won't even cover the bills, won't even cover what they have to live on. It's wrong for that to happen. I think MLS needs to really look at that, because from seeing it, a lot of them owners, mate,
them owners
are taking advantage of the league structure, which is affecting American players. It might benefit others. For me, I went there for 18 months. A lot of time I was there for 2 years. We benefit from getting good adaptation to the USA. Again, they got paid a lot more money, scoring a few goals. However, but for you guys who you leave behind, which I've never gotten to speak to, it still sits wrong with me deep inside of me, which I don't think is the case with all foreign players who are coming in. So that's obviously not a great ringing endorsement for the league. And I think it's something that, it's kind of unfair. Like, I understand what he's saying, but it's coming out of different ways. I'm sure there's many people in England or anywhere across the world that would come over here to try to understand American sports and wouldn't totally get it. Whereas, same thing for us. I mean, for times for me, for being a fairly young soccer fan, having to get used to the transfer window process, and you guys can speak more to that, how guys are not necessarily traded, but they leave or on loan, et cetera. It's still hard for me to understand that. So I think he's just trying to understand what it is. Obviously made headlines. It's slow times. Anything anybody says, particularly a famous person. But I don't think he completely understands the system. Maybe he's trying to fight for the little guy, but this is also the guy that's complaining about not chartering flights everywhere or going to 5-star hotels. So, take what you can. MLS is up and coming, and it's not exactly up to par yet with the EPL, but hopefully one day it will be.
I think Rooney had a reputation for trying to fight for the players in MLS a little bit. That's what I remember him from, besides some of his great plays. Who wants to start?
I mean, he does have a point as far as, having to uproot if you have a family, you have to uproot, your children, your spouse. They have to get into new schools and things like that. Beckham, he actually had to, pretty much uproot his family from Manchester to Real Madrid and Spain, right? And so, but for a period of time, his family lived in Manchester, and he was able to support, their expenses and their living situation there for a period of time until they can transition. But, it's really no different. Fundamentally, it's just the difference that is here is that they don't make as much money to be able to afford those changes. But then if you look at it as well, there's big disparities with income and livability in different parts of the country. Like, the average MLS salary, I believe in 2016 was around $49,000. The MLS has done well with this here because they've picked up the salary every year. And at this time, the minimum is $70,250, and that was actually in 2019.
It's not bad.
So, they're making strides, but there's still challenges there.
Yeah, I was looking up some of the numbers. On the salary cap total, and we don't need to break down all the rest because there's a lot of rules in MLS, but a little over $4 million per team for MLS is the cap.
How much?
That's
$4 million.
That's
if you know
shocked.
the soccer leagues around the world, I mean, that is low.
That's really low because, one player makes that in some clubs across the pond. So,
Wow.
Yeah, not even across the pond in South America.
South America,
Costa Rica. Even
All right.
not even big countries.
Here's a question for you guys in regards to that. You're talking about like an entire team's salary cap is $4 million. I get the times where Beckham came into the MLS for a lot had to do with marketing, a lot had to do with, promoting the league and sponsorships and TV and a lot of that.
Yeah.
But do you guys think that the MLS still needs that. Still needs to pay a player who is about to retire $200 million to come to an MLS team for pure marketing rights when that player is really in decline when it comes to the actual, playing time and expectation of that as to what that player should be bringing into a team? Or would you rather have the league to go and pursue younger players from, South America, Central America, or including other countries in Europe or Africa, versus having to pay one single player an enormous amount of money just for marketing?
Well, Beckham didn't get 200 million, I don't think, and Zlatan didn't come even close to that. But I know what you mean, and there's an argument for Beckham wasn't really at retirement age because he was going on loan over to Milan and stuff like that while he was here.
You're right. You can argue that.
But I mean, Zlatan's a little bit past it.
Completely not on his peak.
Yeah.
Well, I think, looking at our squad, look at our home club and FC Dallas who we support, and they really don't abide by that. And I know a lot of the other fans may be kind of screaming and looking for a big time player because that's who right? But we kind of thrive in the youth system in our academy and what we brought up, and look at our young players that we have now, in the system with Ferreira and Pamacall and those guys, and a lot of these guys, Cannon, those guys have gone on and play for the U.S. national team or looking to be moved, et cetera. And, for the longest time, I didn't buy into that. I do now. I think that's more the way. MLS is not EPL. It's not La Liga. It's not any of those leagues. And nor should it try to be. It should just try to be MLS. I think the biggest problem that they have is, which it has always been, is they don't have the TV contract. Once they have a full-out TV contract with anybody, ESPN, NBC, CBS, whoever, some new network, whatever it is, I think that's when they'll be able to start paying for a lot more of these salaries. A lot of it should be a lot of internal guys, because I would like to see a lot of young Americans play in this league, go on and then get sold to some of these bigger clubs and be like, wow, MLS is respectable, which to every Wayne Rooney, who may knock the MLS about some little things like this, there's other players that have come through and said, you know what, it's actually really good. Plus, it's great for them marketability wise to play in a market like in LA or New York or DC, hopefully Dallas at some point. So I think really it has to do with the TV contract. I think that's the biggest thing they need to work on. I think they have a solid structure. I think we have a lot of young talent from all over the world, and they don't need to focus on these big aging stars just to have the person come out that only watches EPL, early Saturday mornings. I think you need to grow your fan as the MLS fan. We're different. We're not them, and just accept that and then, focus on the TV contracts.
Well, do you think, we were talking about the transfer window, just to kind of steer it back to Rooney's comments. Do you think was the shock of that the transfer window wasn't open in the rest of the world, because it is a worldwide transfer window, and then this guy just got booted to another team all of a sudden? Do you think that maybe that's what he's kind of talking about there a little bit?
Yeah, I think so. It's totally different. I mean, but it's the same way we've talked before, where MLS at first, right? We were watching the Burn game last week, and they go to a shootout like NHL style, right? They were trying to be something different.
Yeah.
That someone overseas would have like, what the hell is this? Like, it's something different. I just think they stick to it. Whatever your rules are, if you want to go more the American way of free agency and trades and everything, then stick to that and just defend it. Like, look, this is how we do things. It's different. And like, we're not trying to be those leagues. So you can't be 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And I think MLS has tried to do a good job of maintaining that and being proud of their league. And I think they continue to do so. So it's just a matter of, are they going to continue to fight down that path, or do they go back to, oh no, we need to be more like everybody else? And I don't think they do.
I don't think they do, but they definitely need to make some changes with some of the things they're doing, because let's look at this here. The MLS still continues when the World Cup's going on. The World Cup is traditionally known for to have the best players in the world playing, and then the MLS wants to continue while the best players in the world are actually gone to play in that tournament from the other leagues that they're actually playing in as well. So, I mean, they have to make some adjustments just to give it a little bit more of a balance. And just to prove your point, Mario, players in decline that are actually stars, they actually bring a lot of value to some clubs. To give you an example, Juventus, before Ronaldo, had 8.1 million followers. After Ronaldo, 13 months later, they had 30.1 million followers. Just in the first week after.
And they were all Real Madrid followers before that.
regardless, I mean, that's 3 times, a little bit more than 3 times the amount of followers that they had without him or with him. So, I mean, just that, it's a financial gain. It can be a financial gain for the club. So, I mean, yes, some clubs can actually afford to do that, and they should go for designated players. So it brings more money into the league and also to the club as well. But then ultimately, you made a good point, Joe. As far as the TV contracts, those need to be solidified with the networks there. But I think bringing big players like that can actually help with the solidification of those contracts.
So what do we think about what else he was talking about? So it sounded like there's a difference in the way that transfers are decided in MLS versus Europe. Is that the case? Like in the earlier part of his quote, he was asking, can they just do that? Is it easy for them to move someone? You know, what if this person has a family, children, a life where they're at? Like, do they consider those things in European transfers, or when someone goes out on loans, or is it more of a collaborative effort, or
they don't.
is it different in the U.S.?
They don't consider those things, but I think fundamentally we know when the transfer is going to be, right? So we know it's January. So if anything's going to happen, those people have actually prepared for January that it's going to happen here. And so they can actually build their life around it. Whereas here, the MLS, you know, it could be mid-season, you're gone. You know, second, third game, you're gone. Sixth game, you're gone. At the end of the season, you're gone.
So it is more of like the timeline or time frame is more American, where it's just a wider window that you're interchangeable parts by the owners is what it kind of lets the players feel like.
Right.
Absolutely. And I think that's what Aaron's point is. It's like it just cuts the cord. It's right in the middle. Like even for the clubs when they're actually planning on these transfer windows, that literally they allocate funds and their budget and financial structures to those windows. And then here we are, you know, with our MLS that is completely different. And even disregarding the World Cup, that is like the biggest tournament in the sport. And disregard that we're just going to keep playing. I mean, there has to be some adjustments.
Let me ask you this. So here's the thing, and this is what I kind of argued the other day when I want to kind of bring up to you guys is this. So I didn't become a fan of 2010 in terms of soccer, and a lot of it's still, and I'm still learning a lot of that. So my question is this. If you're a fan of American sports, you're born and raised blue blood American, et cetera. So for you, that's baseball, basketball, football, maybe some hockey. That's slightly Canadian, but whatever, we'll give it to them. So you're used to the way things are. And then you introduce soccer, which you've seen on the international stage. A lot of Americans say, hey, I don't like soccer, but I'll during the Olympics or during the final or the World Cup, I'll be an American fan. Great, and pull for them. Yay. But if you're a marketing person, and you guys are familiar with that, your backgrounds, if you're trying to get American fans to watch a game that they do not understand, is it easier to them to present a format that's more aligned with what you already have in sports they already love, or do you take the risk of completing a system that's like everything else that people may not understand? That should be the debate. That's a question.
Yeah, but it's all about taking that extra risk, which is not even a risk because it's been done and proven before in other clubs. Think about these new clubs. Like, for example, if Atlanta United or LAFC would have been so conservative about building a stadium that would only fit 30,000 fans, that's what they would have. But guess what? They took the risk and say, you know what? We're going to build a stadium that fills 50,000, 60,000, and then you go and they build a capacity for that, and most of these games are at capacity. So, I mean, it is about taking a risk into getting adapted to the sports that is in other countries. But I think that we have been so conservative, but at the same time, there is a financial leash that, you know, how do you progress from that when teams' salary caps are $4 million? I mean, I think that's kind of like the thing that just kind of keep us from moving and taking a bigger step forward. But do I think there are opportunities? Yes. Do I think that some of the clubs are very conservative? Absolutely.
Joe, I don't think it's that much different. All you have to, because I mean, we all know when the NFL draft is, right? So all we have to say is, look, the transfer window's in January. by that time, we've all done our holiday celebrations and stuff. It's the new year. We're ready to get started. You know, what that means is we can sit down and say, look, this guy's free to purchase. This guy's free to trade. Both sides are ready for it. You know, generally, we're bringing kids into this here, but generally kids start a new semester in January, wherever part of the world that they're in. People can prepare for that. Everyone can sit down in January and just pick whoever they want. And everybody's ready for it because we know it's happening and it's connected to the world. So, I mean, it's not different from the draft. It's just the only difference is the way that the clubs own players.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, yeah, MLS does have a transfer window. It's just not at the same time as everybody else does. And to your point, Joe, about I lost my train of thought. So a lot of hardcore MLS fans refer to MLS as MLS 1.0 and then 2.0. And then 1.0 was very much marketed towards Americans who have never seen soccer. And it pretty much failed to the point where it almost destroyed MLS. And once they were like, we're going to make it as European, as worldwide, as South American as possible, they were like, let's stop trying to force football fans and baseball fans to watch our sport. They're not going to get it. There's enough people in this country that are soccer fans that get up every morning and watch the Premier League. There's enough people from south of the border that get up, and get excited about Mexican leagues and Argentine leagues. So let's just market to them. Let's make it as football as possible. We'll call it Major League Soccer. We'll do a draft. It's still somewhat useful, not nearly as much as it used to be, but they've de-Americanized it as much as possible. And the more they de-Americanize it, the more popular I think it's gotten.
And if you look at the example, Atlanta United, they have fans that were not watching soccer, and they have people that are famous that are actually showing up at games, and they're putting that, they're marketing themselves as being, hey, I'm a fan here. I'm a part of it. And it's working. So it's still its own thing, I believe. It's just you have to take some of the good elements from the rest of the world and put it together. That's what makes it better.
Let me ask you this, because you guys are more familiar with this than I am, but we had a conversation. Shame Rafi's not here, but Mario was on this too. All right, the marketability of players. So in all of our main sports in America, majority of them are American players outside of maybe hockey, the NHL, where they're from Finland or whatever. But in baseball, baseball has become more South American, but let's just say basketball and NFL, the two biggest sports, as you guys know, in America. All of those guys, for the most part, although there's been a lot more Europeans in the NBA, are American, and they look like Americans, they talk like Americans. So a lot of young American fans look for someone that looks like them, talks like them. What's fascinating to me about soccer across the world is you can have Neymar, who's Brazilian, go to France and be a big star, and I don't know if he speaks French or not, doesn't matter, they can still market the hell out of him. You can take a guy like you said, like Ronaldo. I don't know if Ronaldo speaks Italian, but he can go there and he's such a big star, right? He's marketable that way. But here, and my argument's always been this, it's the old Breck-Shea syndrome of, you have a guy in Ferreira during that time in 2010, 2011, who's the best player on the team. However, he doesn't speak any English. He's not relatable to the typical American market, but yet you have this young, blonde hair, blue-eyed kid from Texas, and they, FC Dallas promoted the heck out of him because to me, as an American fan, you can relate to, right? And early on in my ignorance, that's the way I kind of saw it. If a guy doesn't talk like me and how can I relate where he's from, why should I pull for him? And that's ignorant. It is. And I've learned that over the years, but I'm just saying the average American fan looks for someone that is like them they can relate to. Otherwise, they just think, I'll never be a player in EPL, whatever, because I'm not from there. What last American player has gone and been so successful? I mean, we're banking on Pulisic, but he's not even that big of a star, really, amongst American athletes right now. If you rank like top 100 American athletes in the world, he'd be way down there. And in terms of in the forefront of minds of people that are familiar with soccer, I mean,
he's not like a everyday regular people don't talk about him. Yeah.
Right. So my point is,
because we know who he is.
Right, exactly. You all right over there?
Yeah,
Whoa.
What did the game jump on you?
Oh, we lost you.
I'm playing my desk one too many times.
Yeah, that was good. No, but so my point is
I think people
go ahead, the game.
And what's your point?
No, please go ahead and add to it. Yeah.
I think people care about the best players. So you're right. Like, how do you square the fact that Neymar is popular, how do you square the fact that Neymar is popular across the world, even though he's not from everywhere in the world? I think people care about the best athletes and the best players. I think that's universal, no matter which sport you're talking about. They just want to follow the best. For American soccer players, they just care about the best soccer players.
Mhm.
So yeah, like American fans also are big fans of. There are a lot of Neymar fans in America as well, just because he's the best. There's a lot of fans of Ronaldo just because he's the best. I think that's the key. I think that's universal in basketball,
Yeah.
NFL, and baseball as well. I think you have that in baseball and football because they aren't played anywhere outside of the U.S. really.
Mhm.
Soccer and basketball are played around the world. People just care about the best athletes in soccer and basketball, no matter where they're from.
Yeah.
I think that's a big difference.
Yeah, I agree with Gabe. If Japan had an amazing American football league and there was a quarterback there who was just lighting it up, and he went to San Diego or the Raiders or the Giants or something like that, and he was a winner, people would love him. They wouldn't care that he was Japanese. It just doesn't happen because it's an American sport. It's only played here.
Yeah, those baseball. Comparing that to football and baseball.
Yeah,
because they aren't really played outside the U.S. So I think it's different because MLS isn't the best league in the world. Doesn't have the top athletes of the world. Also, I think there's another thing there about the marketability. I think your marketability argument follows in the dichotomy that Lamb was talking about of, are you marketing to America? Like, is it MLS 1.0 that's trying to market MLS soccer to Americans, or is it MLS soccer 2.0 that's trying to market European soccer in America for fans of European? And, you can't fly across the pond to see European soccer every day. So maybe you could see something that's similar to that in the United States, or you can't fly to see the best South American athletes in South America every day. You could see some of those athletes in the U.S. at home. So who are they marketing to? I think their marketing has shifted a little bit. And I think it falls into that argument, like who a club would market would fall into like who they're trying to target.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, this has been actually more insightful than I thought it was going to be. Y'all sound pretty smart tonight, guys.
Woohoo!
All the stay-at-home time is paying off a little bit. Everybody's reading and stuff like that.
Deep thoughts.
Well, we're at wrapping up on time here. I will say one more thing, though. We were talking about the transfer window so much, and it reminded me of something that I saw from Taylor Twellman this week. And he has a theory that MLS might use this opportunity to shift the league all the way over into a European date period and take a winter break in the middle like the Germans do, like the Bundesliga does. And this would be the perfect opportunity to just say, hey, this league is just going to start now. Forget about all the other dates. We're just going to start in like November or actually start in like start the league in September. Play all the way up until it gets just too cold to play in Toronto. They can schedule the games where there's like the colder places don't have as many games as winter, and they just align everything. So when the World Cup comes around, we're not playing, and when the windows open around the world, our windows open up around the world. So we'll see if that's a real possibility. He was also saying the NBA might do something like that.
Yeah.
Everybody's trying to avoid the NBA and Major League Soccer. The reason for that was trying to avoid competing with college football and American football.
Which it may happen. We may have all sports at the same time.
We might.
Hey guys.
Yeah,
I like
that. We talked about the U.S. national team, and I think we had this conversation before, more casually, but about how demand and fans in other countries can be about their national teams, and how, again, in my personal view, we're very conservative when it comes to that here. That the team does a mediocre job and no one really cares, or it's okay, we're just going to give you a pass, when soccer fans in other countries are extremely demanding about the performance, not to mention their clubs, but their national teams. But again, maybe that's another topic for another day.
Yeah, because we're pretty much out of time with.
Hey,
29.
before we go, hey Chop, real quick, can we go to our mailbox real quick? We got another fan mail.
I'll go ahead and let you read that out.
Yeah, so this comes from surprise, a Renato again in
Our
Dallas.
biggest fan.
Yeah, our biggest fan, and he just writes to say that he really appreciates everything we're doing. He misses us like crazy.
Thank you, Renato.
He just he really does support everything we're doing. He's sorry he can't make it like he usually does, but he stays on top of it as much as he can. And he just wants to send his love. So, te amo, Renato.
Yeah.
Te amo.
We really appreciate the message he sent to us.
Our number one.
Absolutely.
All right, everybody.
Rafi as a guest next time.
Yes.
Thanks. We need more.
Thanks,
we need more
Martin
Rafi's
Alvin, for
rumors.
being here tonight. And thank you guys. Nice having you guys on.
Thanks, Albany, for being here as well. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, we're done. So what's the name of it again?
Dallas Diablos Radio.
Dallas Diablos Radio.